everyone, I'm Rochelle Chernowski. This is Shell Point Today for Wednesday, May 28th. On today's show, we'll learn about boats from our Suzy Q captain Jim Walker and airplanes from Korean War aviator Nip Wilson. We'll also see what's happening with all the heavy equipment at the Shell Point Golf Club, as well as other construction happenings around our campus. But first, this morning, we host a special academy class with Thomas Tyrrell, former international lawyer and advisor to the UK government. He has a unique perspective on world events, and this week, his focus is on Russia. What does the current turmoil in Ukraine, Crimea, and Russia mean for the West? Are we headed for a new Cold War? Find out this morning as Thomas Tyrrell holds court in the Grand Cypress Room at 10 a.m. and returns on Friday at 10 a.m. for part 2 of his lecture. Sign up for either of these events by contacting your local service desk. Also today, Lindy Smith is showing you how to exercise by having fun. Where you may see a can of corn on the table, Lindy sees some impromptu exercise equipment. Come find out her secret at the Health Benefits of Having Fun this morning at 10:15 in the Social Center. And then tomorrow, if you're a pet owner, then you have multiple concerns about planning for hurricane season. What accommodations should you make for your pet if you have to go to the hurricane shelter here at Shell Point? We've got all the advice and experience in one place, the Pet Owners Hurricane Meeting happening tomorrow at 10:15 a.m. in the Social Center. Leave the pets at home for the meeting, but bring your questions so that your pets will be ready for hurricane season. Also tomorrow, we're hosting a cardboard boat regatta. Now, what on earth is that? Well, in a nutshell, we give you the materials to construct a small model boat made of cardboard. Then once the boats are constructed, you will actually get in the pool and make waves to propel your boat from one side of the pool to the other. It's a great way to exercise your creativity and cool off from the summer sun all at the same time. The Cardboard Boat Regatta happens tomorrow at 3:15 p.m. at the LifeQuest Aquatic Center. Of course, if you prefer not to get wet on your boat excursions, there's always the comfort and style of a ride on the Suzy Q. For just $5, you and your family and friends can enjoy a cruise through our scenic waterways with a stop at one of several lunchtime destinations. The Suzy Q is professionally captained by Jim Walker.
I'm Mary Franklin from Resort Services, and I am here today to introduce to you Captain Jim Walker, who will be captaining our very own Suzy Q5. We're glad to have him on board. Welcome to Shell Point.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
So Jim, tell us a little bit about yourself. Before, where were you born? Tell us all the good information.
So I was born in New Orleans, and we moved to Pensacola, Florida when I was about 10 years old, and grew up there on the Gulf Coast. Been around the water most of my life and was fortunate enough to have that experience, and it's led to a boating passion for me, and I'm very pleased and have the opportunity to work with you guys here on the Suzy Q now.
Yeah. Before us, you had some very interesting opportunities of moving boats from one position to another. You had a great trip starting in California?
Yes, I was a radar engineer for 20 years, and in between contracts that we had in California, I had purchased a sailboat there and had the opportunity to sail it back over to Pensacola, which was quite an adventure. And I'm glad that I did it at that time, because the world has changed a lot, and things might not be so easy to go through the canal these days.
Right.
And that led to teach the offshore sailing school over at the South Sea Plantation. And so I've been fortunate in having the chance to live here in Southwest Florida for the past 20 years and to enjoy the water lifestyle.
And you've been giving tours and doing boat tours in the area for the last several years. Where's your favorite place to go? Do you have a favorite?
Well, one of the more favorite places is to go up towards the upper islands where there's no bridges, like North Captiva and Boca Grande and places like that. We're fortunate that we do have a lot of unspoiled waterway and habitat here in Southwest Florida, and it's a wonderful place to live and to work.
And Captain Jim, I know that you're a nature lover and you love being able to share your knowledge and have people be able to see the dolphins and the wildlife that's out there on the water. You can't wait to share that with our residents. Is that correct?
That's correct. I enjoy seeing the dolphins, and I am a sort of amateur naturalist, although we have some good narrators here at the Suzy Q that are prepared to give a good account of the birds and the wildlife that we encounter. But the dolphins are always a special treat, and I enjoy seeing those. Fortunately, we have a lot of those in this area, and once they get to know the Suzy Q boat and the signature of its engines and the depth sounder and everything, then they will feel more comfortable about coming alongside and sharing their activities with us. We're all looking forward to that.
Well, Captain Jim, we're looking forward to getting out on the water with you. We are so glad that you're a part of the Shell Point family, and you and the volunteers will be giving a great opportunity for all residents to get out on the water. If you want to join Captain Jim on a trip, you can do so by signing up at the volunteer greeter desk in the Resident Activity Center for one of the several trips we'll have planned throughout every week. I'm Mary Franklin with Captain Jim Walker. Make it a great day.
During the summer, the Suzy Q schedule will be pared down a bit, but they still plan to go out at least twice a week. In June, the Suzy Q will depart every Tuesday at 11 a.m. to go across the river and through the locks to Cape Coral for lunch at Rum Runners and shopping at Cape Harbor. And on Thursdays at 10:30, the Suzy Q travels to the Lighthouse Restaurant for a fabulous lunch. To reserve your seat on the Suzy Q, call the volunteer greeter desk at 454-2136. Also remember, you can charter the Suzy Q for a custom trip with your family and friends, or even have a court party. To plan a custom trip, contact Melody Desolé at 454-2290. Well, folks, there is no shortage of activity around Shell Point's campus. New construction is happening everywhere, and some of the updates are more noticeable than others. For example, last week we showed you the fountain in front of the mid-risers, which was beautifully repainted thanks to a donation from Jan van Leer of Turban. Another fountain in the island's administration circle was recently demolished to make way for a new water feature, which will also feature places to sit and enjoy the beauty. That's one summer project. Now another is down at the Woodlands, where a new well was recently drilled to help supply the irrigation system. Meanwhile, at the estuary, Shell Point's newest neighborhood, construction is progressing quickly, as you can see from these aerial photos. A bit further down the road at the Springs, the population has outgrown the current dining room, so a new dining room is in the process of being built. Even at the golf course, Shell Point is taking advantage of the summer season to make some significant improvements, as we're about to find out from Mark Jacobs.
When we're out on the golf course playing golf, we get to see the golf course in the playable condition. Today we're talking a little bit about what it takes to keep those conditions and what we're doing as a team to enhance the conditions as we move forward. The goal is to improve and increase the conditions of the golf course, so some of the steps that we're taking are increasing the amount of maintenance. This year we'll be gaining some new equipment to help us with those processes, as well as a little bit more closing time on the golf course so that we can make a bigger impact. Down the road, we hope to continually make incremental improvements on the golf course, from last year rebuilding the greens to doing some work this summer, laying out a detailed long-range plan of course projects as well as our equipment replacements. One of the things you'll see is a piece of equipment called the Big Daddy. It's a big fairway slicer, has big axe blades. They're about 6 inches deep, about 1 inch thick, and they penetrate the ground that full depth to help loosen up the golf course soil from all the compaction and traffic that happens during the golfing season. The big drum that's on that piece of equipment, when it's filled with water, it weighs 7,000 pounds, and that's what it takes to get it to penetrate into the ground with the amount of compaction that we have. the company is Aerification Plus. They've been coming here for about 4 or 5 years now, helping us with that. Tremendous piece of equipment, not something that we can, have on site. On top of that, we have a large aerifier. It's a big double aerifier, much more aggressive than what we've been able to do in the past, which we'll be gaining a piece of that equipment ourselves here so that we can do it either more frequently or however we choose to do it, which is a benefit for us because we can fit it in our schedule. When you look out over the golf course, the aerification process, it looks kind of destructive, but it's very beneficial. In a couple of weeks after we have everything cleaned up and we fertilize and run water, it'll look much better. The things that aerification helps us with is it helps relieve compaction from all the traffic that happens from either golf carts or our own traffic. It lets air and water into the soil, penetrate to the soil, help improve the root system. That's our main goal, is what's underneath. Improving the root system helps what's on top be better. So the bigger impact that we can make to that and rejuvenate the soil helps invigorate our turf for the next season. Overall, the goal for all of this increased aerification and increased cultural practices is to help us elevate the status and the quality of the golf course over time. And as we go into looking forward to a new clubhouse on the horizon, the increased practices will help us elevate the status and the quality of the golf course as well.
All this week, we are talking to Shell Point authors who were featured in this month's issue of Shell Point Life magazine. Nip Wilson's book, Hello Cherry Tree, was written in 1951 based on his experiences as an aviator during the Korean War. In 2009, Nip sat down with us to discuss some of his experiences in the air.
Well, Nip, tell us now, flying off an aircraft carrier is an activity fraught with peril. I'm sure you saw your share of close calls.
On our whole cruise, we had no accidents at all. This is on the map. It was an Essex class carrier, in other words, a straight deck. The last one built, I think, was the Valley Forge, which is the one we used. Sometimes there wasn't any wind, so the captain went to flank speed, did the best he could. But with one of the airplanes I was in, wasn't quite fast enough, and I stalled going off the bow. Wound up, this I put in that diary I wrote, wound up about 100 yards off to the port side, went into the water. Fortunately, it landed right side up, and I was able to get out, and the airplane went down just about in that sequence. So that was the second forced landing I've ever had. The first one, I had the dubious honor of interrupting the Berlin airlift by about 3 minutes. I was in a trainer such as Pelflug, coming down the Connecticut River on my way back to Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, where they had a reserve squadron. And I was beginning to lose power, and I checked the oil pressure. Sure enough, gauge was going down. So I was looking around at all the nice flat fields by the Connecticut River, thinking, well, this airplane does pretty well, gear up. And up ahead, I suddenly noticed the airport which is near Springfield, Westover Field, I think it is. And they were using it to stage Douglas DC-4s, which they're using for transports to take supplies into the city of Berlin. And I tried to call the tower, and the tower wouldn't listen to me, apparently. Mayday, mayday. No answer. But I kept going around, and suddenly the tower came on the air and said, all aircrafts, stay clear of the duty runway, we have an emergency. So I thought to myself, well, the character could have at least responded to my call. But I came around at about 4,000 feet going around the tower, went down wind, dropped the gear and flaps, came in, did a wheel landing, and there was a cross runway. So I landed on the wheels and had just enough speed to get off on this other runway. Off went the Berlin Air.
How about that?
So
So you sent them on their way, huh?
that wasn't a very patriotic thing to do. It wasn't my fault.
I think we know your favorite airplane probably too. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, of course, it was very similar to the P-47. Had the same engine, an R-2800. And it was changed dramatically from our reserve squadrons because they added about 300 or 400 horsepower to the airplane. Perhaps the airplane I had the most fun with, they stopped building. It was built by the Mooney Aircraft Corporation. And you could almost reach out and touch the wingtips. It had retractable gear, sort of like an emergency gear in an emergency stick in a car. But you pulled up, the gear came up. It had little flaps about this long.
You talk about the Mite? Is that
The Mooney, right?
Mooney
yeah,
Mite.
Exactly.
Know what you're talking about.
About 65 horsepower, would cruise around 90 miles an hour or so. So it was a fun airplane, but I had experience in a lot of the Navy's airplanes. The one that I enjoyed, was most comfortable flying, was the F-86, I guess it was, that the Air Force used over Korea. The Navy had some of those after the war. And air conditioning, quiet, just went along, lifted off, and you could, very maneuverable. So that was a delightful airplane.
Coming up, it's time to cover all of today's happenings. Then stay tuned for your Academy news, menus, and Village Church connections.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm Leslie Brand, and I'm here with Bev Chanley, and we're with the Happening segment to go over all the activities going on for today. We're going to start at 7:45 with men's Bible study in the Osprey Room on the island. 8:45, Lily and Company Jewelers were here for their weekly jewelry service in the Resident Activity Center. 9 o'clock, Jurassic Travel will meet in the Egret Room on the island. Also at 9 o'clock is the men's match play doubles tennis at the tennis courts. And lastly at 9 o'clock is Watercolor Group with Phil Hilton in the art studio. 9:15, Card Making and Scrapbooking Group will meet in the Tarpon Room. 10 o'clock, the Ladies Bible Study will meet in the Osprey Room on the island. 10:15, Model Yacht Sailing Club will be at the Commons Lake at the Woodlands. 10:15, Health Connections, the health benefits of having fun in the Social Center on the island. Sign up is required. 11:30, Health Connections, Agility and Flexibility in the Health Club, but that class is currently full. Now here's Bev for the afternoon activities.
Thanks, Leslie. At 1 o'clock, we have chess. That'll be played in the Library Lounge on the island. 1:45, we have a Health Connections class, Balance and Mobility Training Level 1. That'll be in the Health Club and is currently closed. At 2:30, you'll find Jazz and Stuff playing in the Grand Cypress Room down at the Woodlands. At 3 o'clock, the Bible study will be going on in the King's Crown Community Room. Also at 3 o'clock, we have a Health Connections Pilates stretch class. That'll be held in the Health Club. And 4:30, we have indoor bocce. They set that up also down in the Health Club on the island. We round out our activities at 7:15 with Prayer and Praise with Andy Hawkins. That'll be held in the Social Center on the island. Well, thank you for joining us this Wednesday. We will see you back here on Thursday.
Hi, I'm Terry Kolath with your Academy information for Wednesday, the 28th of May. At 10 o'clock, we have a class in the Grand Cypress Room of the Woodlands, A New Cold War, and sign-up is required. At 1 o'clock, using the keyboard and mouse touchpad will take place in the Computer Center at the Woodlands, and sign-up is required. At 1:30, we continue our Experiencing Colored Pencil Painting class in the Sable Room of the Woodlands, and we also continue at 1:45 Basics Computer Prep School in the Computer Teaching Center on the island. We have a new computer college class tomorrow. Skype Basics and Windows 8 app will take place with Joe Kramer of Lakewood.
Menus for Wednesday. In the Crystal Room, the Crystal Platter is roasted chicken with rice pilaf and vegetable medley. The dinner special is the pasta buffet for $12.95, and the soup of the day is minestrone. In the Island Cafe for lunch on Wednesday, the special is a chicken cheese quesadilla with fries for $7.25. The dinner special is grilled shrimp for $8.25. Dinner specials in the Palm Grill are fried oysters for $16.95 or stuffed chicken for $13.95. All menus are available 24 hours a day at www.shellpoint.net.
Greetings and welcome to Village Church Connections. Great Commission Sunday. It's more than just a tradition. It's a celebration of what God is accomplishing through the worldwide work of the Christian Missionary Alliance as we seek to introduce men, women, and children to the love of Jesus. This year we've designated Sunday, June 8 as Great Commission Sunday. It's an opportunity for us to make a significant impact for the kingdom with a special offering that will enable the Christian and Missionary Alliance to launch new ministry initiatives around the world. One of my favorite images is found in the book of Revelation. In Revelation chapter 7, verse 9, the Apostle John wrote these words, "After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and in front of the Lamb." The picture we are given is of people from every corner of the earth engaged in worship. That's what Great Commission Sunday and our emphasis on missions is all about. God's heart is to see the nations worship. How will that look? This video gives us just a glimpse, so take a look and let it encourage your heart today.
So the purpose of Christ in redemption was not to save us from hell primarily, but it was to save us unto worship, that we might become again worshipers of the living God.
All creatures of our God and King, lift up your voice and with us sing.
Thank you for joining us today for Village Church Connections. Have a very blessed day.
We're glad you joined us for today's show. Tune in tomorrow as Pastor Andy Hawkins opens the floor to any and all questions at a unique Academy class. We'll also talk with Wally Kane, former mayor of Sanibel and now an author of young adult novels based on his travels in the Amazon rainforest. Until then, this is Shell Point Today for Wednesday, May 28th. I'm Rochelle Chernowski. From all of us here at Shell Point TV, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.